I insist you come with me, Abigail. I couldn't possibly trust you to stay here.
Why not?
Because keeping an eye on poor Huey, Dewey, and Louie is the most important job in the world.
Saturday mornings in the late 80s belonged to the globe-trotting, treasure-chasing world of DuckTales. Even superfans missed some of the oddest secrets and quirks baked into this legendary cartoon. Get ready to count down 15 truly weird facts that may just surprise you. Number 1. The series was the first Disney afternoon hit. Let's go back to 1987, when weekday afternoons sparkled with adventure, gold coins, and that famous theme song. DuckTales wasn't just another cartoon, it was a seismic shift for children's TV. When Scrooge McDuck leapt into his money bin and Huey, Dewey, and Louie zoomed through Duckburg, kids everywhere tuned in with rapt attention. The response was overwhelming. Disney took a leap, rolling DuckTales out as a first-run syndicated show, a brave move at the time. Before DuckTales, original cartoons were reserved for Saturday mornings or left as filler, but its runaway ratings showed the bigwigs. Weekday animation could be top tier. DuckTales became the keystone of the Disney afternoon, which launched officially in 1990 and brought with it series like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck. For studio execs, it meant new money. For you, it was a golden hour after school, every day, where adventure and comedy blended together. Soon, kids everywhere would consider weekday afternoons a sacred ritual, thanks to a plucky clan of ducks who changed TV forever. Number 2. DuckTales inspired a parade float, and an airplane. Imagine the colorful world of Duckburg spilling out past your TV screen and onto the main street of Disneyland. In 1988, fresh off the hit debut of DuckTales the year before, Disney unveiled a dazzling DuckTales parade float. There was Scrooge McDuck, towering above with his glittering top hat, and the mischievous Huey, Dewey, and Louie waving to a sea of awestruck kids. But Disney did not stop with parades. The fever for DuckTales soared sky high, literally. In a promotional burst unlike anything before, a real McDonnell Douglas MD-80 airplane was splashed with larger-than-life likenesses of Scrooge and his nephews and flown around the country. Passengers at airports from Los Angeles to Miami watched familiar cartoon faces taxi down the runways. It was proof that DuckTales was not just a show, it was a full-blown phenomenon, conquering airspace and theme parks alike. One moment you were watching Adventures in Duckburg, the next you might spot your favorite duck circling overhead, ready for the next story to take flight. Number 3. The show borrowed real-world mythology. Deep beneath Duckburg's slapstick humor, DuckTales wove stories that felt bigger, older, and a little mysterious. Writers dipped into lost city lore, whisking Scrooge and his nephews off to search for places inspired by El Dorado or Atlantis. These adventures echoed tales you'd find in dog-eared library books. Norse legends didn't escape their net either. Recall the 1989 episode Land of Tra-La-La, a cheeky nod, to mythical Himalayan utopias. Even the cryptid craze made its way in, with creatures like the Chupacabra showing up in quacking cartoon form. The show pulled from globe-trotting pulp novels and gave each outlandish myth a DuckTales twist, swirling history and fairy tales into rollicking treasure hunts. Every episode was a wink to something dusty and ancient, but now draped in Saturday morning colors. These borrowed myths made Duckburg feel vast and wild, with mysteries just waiting around the next money bin. And just like that, your childhood Saturday grew a little deeper, a little weirder, off to where legend meets laughter, and never quite knowing what adventure comes next. Number 4. Webby Vanderquack was created to sell more toys. Soft pink bows, a polite voice with a hint of mischief. Webby Vanderquack swept onto DuckTales in 1987, right when Disney realized they needed a dash of girl power among the Quack Pack. Not just for storytelling, Webby was designed with Saturday morning toy aisles in mind. She became DuckTales' first regularly featured female child, joining Huey, Dewey, and Louie on their wild adventures. With her addition, Disney upped their merch game, launching plush Webby dolls alongside the classic McDuck boys in 1988. Her big doe eyes, sweet smile, and signature pink accessories made her impossible for kids and marketing teams to ignore. Webby's debut was more than just a plot twist. She changed the face of Duckburg's toy shelves, giving young fans a new kind of hero to root for. And before long, every sleepover and school backpack seemed to feature Webby's unmistakable grin. Sometimes the right character shows up at just the right moment, and sometimes she's made for the moment. As DuckTales charged toward toy stardom, Webby proved you couldn't have adventure without a little heart. Number 5. The DuckTales NES game. Invented the Pogo jump, the clack of an NES controller, the chime of pixelated coins, you knew you were in DuckTales territory. In 1989, Capcom released DuckTales for the Nintendo Entertainment System, forever changing platform gaming with one simple move: the Pogo jump. Scrooge McDuck's bouncy cane was not from cartoon canon, but the clever invention of Capcom's Japanese team, who approached the project with fresh eyes. Unfamiliar with Duckburg and its customs, they dreamed up a move that let Scrooge bounce through levels and race past enemies, a mechanic that would later echo across decades of platformers. By bouncing on his cane like a spring, Scrooge embodied both old-school challenge and cartoon whimsy. The move was quirky, memorable, and soon imitated. Titles from Shovel Knight to modern Mario games owe a nod to that bouncy innovation. It was proof that sometimes stepping outside the original story leads to something even more legendary. Grab your controller. This pogo stick ride is just picking up speed. Let's pause for a second. Did you or someone in your family play the original DuckTales game? What was your favorite video game move or secret trick as a kid? Share your tales below and see who remembers the same old games. Number 6. Uncle Scrooge's money pit is logistically impossible. You can hear the splash and the clink of treasure as Uncle Scrooge dives headfirst into his mountain of gold coins. DuckTales, which hit TV screens in 1987, turned that impossible dream into cartoon reality. The iconic scene, Scrooge, cap and cane discarded, swimming through a sea of shimmering coins, sparked childhood fantasies everywhere. But behind the animation magic was a confession from the show's writers. The inspiration came from legendary Disney artist Carl Barks, who first drew Scrooge's gravity-defying swim. In real life, though, it's a recipe for disaster. Metal coins do not flow like water. Dive in, and you are more likely to end up with a broken arm than a pocket full of riches. Yet the fantasy stuck, becoming the most replayed image of Duckburg adventure. Decades later, no amount of physics lessons can shatter the childhood belief that riches could be as splashy and slippery as Saturday morning dreams. So next time you close your eyes and picture diving into a pile of dimes, remember that fantasy is pure, cartoon gold, and it's only just the beginning of the DuckTales magic. Number 7. There's a hidden Carl Barks duck every season. Every true DuckTales fan knows the thrill of a good Easter egg, but few realize just how artfully woven these surprises really are. Throughout the original DuckTales, which burst onto TVs in 1987, artists paid homage to comic genius Carl Barks in a clever way. At least once per season, background scenes would include a mustachioed duck. Barks's likeness slipped silently into Duckburg life. Whether he's peering out from a bustling market or reading a paper at a park bench, this trademark character became a secret handshake for eagle-eyed viewers. The tradition started as a nod to Barks, who invented Scrooge McDuck and shaped the show's adventurous tone. For animators, slipping Carl into a scene was a playful salute to the man who'd inspired so much duck-driven mayhem. If you freeze-frame the first season's Scrooge's Pet, you'll find their tip of the hat nestled in the chaos. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it gift, a subtle wink from one generation of storytellers to the next. And it means Duckburg is never quite done revealing its secrets. Number 8. Top Disney animators worked on the pilot. Few people realize that some of Disney's future animation royalty first sharpened their pencils on DuckTales. The pilot, Treasure of the Golden Suns, wasn't just any cartoon episode. It was a grand experiment. Disney poured in top-tier talent, including animators like Glenn Keane and Rob Minkoff, who would go on to shape classics such as The Little Mermaid in 1989 and The Lion King in 1994. For DuckTales, Disney pulled out all the stops: lavish, hand-drawn animation, a sweeping score, and an adventurous tone uncommon in weekday TV. When the pilot movie premiered in September 1987, Disney treated it like a blockbuster. It aired as a major event on independent stations, a first for a syndicated cartoon. The animation spark that lit up Duckburg would echo in Disney features for years to come. You can almost feel the energy of young artists pushing boundaries, their pencils flying in hopes of treasure, long before Simba ever let out his roar. Next up, the legacy continues to ripple through Saturday mornings. Number 9. The Banana Brain episode was almost banned. Neon yellow ducklings, spiral-eyed bananas, and a plot that swerved hard into weird. DuckTales fans remember the duck who would be king for all the right reasons. But in 1989, this episode almost vanished before your after-school snack even hit the plate. Censors at the time were startled by a scene where hallucinatory banana creatures wiggled across the screen, stretching far beyond what most cartoons dared to show. The dreamlike colors and trippy visuals caught grown-ups off guard, raising eyebrows over what counted as kid-friendly. The episode teetered on the edge, with network executives considering yanking it all together. But loyal viewers got their wish. The bananas stayed, making it one of the boldest, most talked-about DuckTales adventures ever. It's a reminder that sometimes even a wacky animated fruit can test the limits of what's allowed on TV. And just like that, the next Duckburg surprise was never more than a remote click away. Number 10. Gyro Gearloose. Built a real NASA rocket, sort of. A wild burst of cartoon energy lights up Season 1 of DuckTales, in the episode where no duck has gone before. Here, everyone's favorite inventor, Gyro Gearloose, unveils his latest contraption, a rocket ship straight out of science fiction, but with roots grounded in reality. The inspiration, actual NASA concept art from the 1980s, when dreams of futuristic spacecraft filled real-world headlines. DuckTales didn't just toss in a generic spaceship. Instead, the show slipped in kid-friendly science, blending blueprints from actual rocket designs with puns, pratfalls, and a hefty scoop of slapstick. Voiced by Hal Smith, Gyro is always full of ambition, often with hilarious results, and this episode put that genius on display. It's a tribute to an era when cartoons treated young viewers to offbeat learning, tucking real-world wonders inside bright madcap stories. By the end, you not only giggled, you caught a whiff of rocket fuel and possibility, ready for your own backyard launch. Adventure always loomed just over the next horizon in Duckburg, where even a cartoon rocket could fire up your imagination. Number 11. Launchpad McQuack's origin was a canceled one-off. Before DuckTales ever graced your TV, Launchpad McQuack had a very different destiny. He was originally drawn up for a daring animated pilot starring a swashbuckling aviator, a show that Disney never greenlit. Rather than toss the character into the animation vault, artists decided Launchpad would be the perfect fit as Scrooge McDuck's ever-optimistic crash-landing pilot. Debuting in 1987 on syndication, DuckTales gave Launchpad a new lease on life. With Alan Young voicing Scrooge and Terry McGovern supplying Launchpad's iconic laid-back drawl, audiences instantly connected with this big-hearted klutz. Launchpad's many spectacular plane crashes became a running gag, yet his loyalty and goofy charm made him unforgettable. The fact that he sprang to life out of a shelved project gives him a quiet resilience, the kind you can feel every time he dusts off after another epic wipeout. Next time you hear his signature, "any crash you can walk away from" catchphrase, remember that Launchpad himself is walking proof of cartoon reinvention. Number 12. The theme song lyrics were changed twice. You can practically hear those opening notes. DuckTales, woo-oo-oo. But what most fans never realized is that the song we all know and love nearly sounded very different. Early drafts of the DuckTales theme included lines that clashed with the bouncy melody and fell flat without a rhyme. Composer Mark Mueller didn't settle for mediocrity. Through take after take in 1987, he tweaked every lyric, hunting for that perfect flow and catchiness. Finally, he struck gold with the unforgettable words, "Life is like a hurricane." That one line pulled everyone straight into Scrooge McDuck's wild world of treasure and trouble. The finished theme became an anthem for a generation, its energy, clever turns of phrase, and tight rhymes making viewers race to the TV after school. Even now, decades later, the first few notes spark memories and smiles in anyone who grew up during the golden age of afternoon cartoons. As you hum those familiar words, let's dive deeper into the quirks that make DuckTales a lasting legend. Number 13. Scrooge McDuck sounded Scottish for a reason. Few voices from the cartoon golden age spark memories quite like Scrooge McDuck's. That cranky brogue from DuckTales, crackling over your after-school snacks, had a genuine Scottish origin. Alan Young, the man behind Scrooge's riches and rants, was raised in Scotland before making his way to Hollywood. When DuckTales launched in 1987, Disney didn't just want a quirky billionaire duck. They wanted someone who sounded like he'd survived the hard times. Someone whose accent told stories of distant castles and cold, stormy coasts. Young's real-life heritage made Scrooge instantly distinct from his fellow Disney ducks, most of whom spoke flawless American English. The result? Scrooge stood out not just for his mountain of gold, but for his unmistakable rolled R's and bits of Scottish phrasing. Disney recognized it as lightning in a bottle and leaned all the way in, letting Young's authentic sound elevate the show. Even now, if you close your eyes, you can practically hear him say, "Bless me bagpipes." Number 14. Donald Duck was almost the star. Picture the waddle and that unmistakable quack. DuckTales almost belonged to Donald Duck himself. Back in 1987, the original pitch for this now iconic animated series had Donald front and center, ready for wild globe-trotting adventures. But as production ramped up at Disney, showrunners worried that Donald's famously raspy voice, while perfect in short bursts, might wear thin over entire episodes. So, in a quiet creative pivot, the show's heart shifted to the trio kids knew from the comics, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Their plucky curiosity and boundless sibling energy brought a new chemistry to Duckburg, with their madcap uncle Scrooge McDuck filling in as the bigger-than-life adventurer. This tiny adjustment changed everything, giving us not just a new set of heroes, but a new family dynamic that would define weekday afternoons for years. Imagine the series with Donald at the helm, louder perhaps, but not quite the same charm. Sometimes the magic really is in the details, so grab a feathered cap and hang on. The adventure in Duckburg was just getting started. Number 15. Gizmoduck's real name. Was a joke on TV censors. There's something deliciously sneaky about cartoon creators pushing boundaries behind the scenes. In DuckTales, the arrival of Gizmoduck was more than just another superhero moment. It was a sly wink at audiences and network censors alike. When Fenton Crackshell, Scrooge McDuck's scatterbrained accountant, first stumbled into his armored alter ego during Season 2 in 1989, kids everywhere got hooked on his wild gadgets and slapstick bravado. But here's the hidden gem. The name Gizmoduck was picked to sound just edgy enough for grown-ups to smirk, all while staying under the radar of cautious executives who scrutinized every line. Back then, the late 1980s still had strict rules about what could fly in animated shows, so this offbeat moniker was a backroom joke, playful enough to get past censors, naughty enough to make the writers grin. This blend of innocence and irreverence gave DuckTales its cheeky soul, adding layers you might not have caught as a kid. Next time you hear that blathering blatherskite, imagine the writers giggling as the censors nodded along, onward to the next tale hidden beneath the surface.